We had a customer who wanted to enrich their CRM, and they have, I think, 800,000 records, and they wanted to enrich their CRM with a lot of different data. And basically, this is the Clay workflow that we used in order to do it as cheaply as possible. In this video, I'm going to show you the criteria that they wanted to enrich the companies by, and then we will show the Clay table as well. For those of you who are just starting to use Clay, if you need a 101 tutorial on how to enrich companies for a lot of different data points, this is going to be the video for you, because a lot of the things that they're asking for are things that many companies would want, and then they have specific requests as well too. So let's jump into their list of requirements first, and then we'll show off the Clay table. So as you can see, this is a list of the requests that they had, and it was quite a bit of things. They wanted industry. Well, when they say industry, they really want to know if it's a B2B or a B2C company. And then sub industries, that's the actual industry that you might get from somebody's LinkedIn profile and things like that. Then you have their country, their employee count, their revenue range, their description, their target customers, the how many marketing people do they have on their team. This is more custom to them, and their open jobs and all of these things, their content platforms and all this stuff. And then probably the most interesting one was also, let's see, so I already told them paid traffic was not something that we were able to get. There was one I wanted to show everybody, but it had to do with the traffic from their website. So basically where they get traffic from and their top keywords and all those kinds of things. So this is the list of requirements that we were given. And so then we're going to jump into the Clay table and show exactly how we found everything. So in this Clay table, this just takes a company domain as a input. And so we could only go with this because it's going to be enriching their HubSpot, and we just need to make sure that we're keeping everything super clean for their HubSpot. So we kicked off this whole enrichment with just using the enriched company data that comes inside of Clay. You'll see that a couple of these started screwing up. We have reddit.com getting OM Tech Laser, and then we have Gong getting Flickerbox, and then Facebook getting this job vacancy in Bangladesh, whatever it might be. So I've already spoken to the Clay team about fixing this, but this is just because some people are using these sites as their website on their LinkedIn company profile. It in these 10, it makes it look bad, but it's not going to be something that a lot of other people, like nobody is using nobody is going to be using Noble Project as their website except for Noble Project. So this is just something I just wanted to call out from here. And so then we get the website, we got the employee count, we got the range, we got their industry based on their LinkedIn data. Then we have their description here. So we're kind of just from one integration, we're rolling through a lot of the things. Then we have their country and their founded year. Again, this is all just coming from the company enrichment over here. Then we used AI to figure out if it's a B2B or a B2C company, which now with GPT-4o Mini, this is going to get a lot cheaper for us. And I just have to, yeah, let's switch this out. So now this was costing us 0.0, that's 3 zeros before the 3. And then now with 4o Mini, we could take the exact same prompt, and I hope it'll work, but Clay's been acting kind of funky with me today. Yeah, all right. But it'll be much cheaper now anyway. So here is where we kind of get to the fun part. So here's where we're going to tackle the revenue, the last funding round, the top investors, their competitors, those kinds of things. So I think ZoomInfo has great data on this. So it is very easy if you can find a page. If you want to scrape those pages with Zenrose makes that ridiculously easy. But first you have to find that page, right? So ZoomInfo, they have unique pages that with unique numbers for all of their URLs. And so what we just did is we used a platform called serper.dev, which is a API that lets you scrape Google searches. And we just entered this search, so site zoominfo.com, and then we put clay.com in the quotes so we could look for the ZoomInfo page. And then we ran a Zenrose scrape on top of the URL that we found from the Google result. Because if you search this into Google, I'm not going to do it right now because this Loom video is just on this tab. But if you search into Google, site zoominfo.com, reddit.com, the first URL is going to be the reddit.com Zoom info page, and then you'll be able to pull that out. It's just getting errors because I don't know, like maybe a concurrency limit, but we can rerun that and hopefully it'll just fix. But see how we have run condition not met? This is just in case we look for a Zoom info URL, or yeah, for the URL, but it doesn't actually include the website that we were searching for. It'll block everything from there so that we're not doing a search for one website and then we're not getting the website back. So anyway, then we scrape it with Zenrose, and then we have the funding round, their last funding date, the number of funding rounds, the total amount raised, all this stuff. We have their top 3 investors. Then we have their top 3 competitors as it comes to from ZoomInfo. We have their revenue in millions as well. Again, this is an estimate from ZoomInfo. And then this is just a bunch of other stuff that just came out that we don't really need. Then the next thing that they wanted to know is they wanted to know how big was the marketing team. So Clay has an integration. It's like get employee count by criteria or something like that. And so we just enrich the LinkedIn company URL, and then we look for any of these titles on their team so that we could get a count of how big is this department on their team. So a lot of times people want department headcounts from Clay, and it's super easy to make these things yourself. So Apollo, Sales Navigator, ZoomInfo, they have department headcount or like just department filters. And so then people will come to Clay and they're like, how do you make that? But everyone in the sales team, the whole sales team has sales in their name, or they have account executive or business development representative or whatever it might be. So just take the most common titles and those keywords and then just put them into your search and you should be able to get the department. Like the engineering team, most of them are going to have engineering in their title, right? So that just makes it pretty easy. Then we used the predict leads and the LinkedIn job openings to be able to find how many job openings they had for marketing roles. So I like running predict leads first. It's super easy to set up. We have all of the data in here of everybody that we wanted to search so we could get the count of those roles. And then they also wanted to find if they hired remote people, like remote jobs. So we're also searching for just the keyword remote here. This isn't totally the most amazing way to do this. Probably the best way to do this is to remove this filter, get all the job posts that you possibly can, and then just pull like you'd have to, the reason why this is tough is because then you'd have to stringify like 10 job descriptions and see if they mention remote in there. The other way you could do this is also you could look at where the headquarters of the company is, and you could also see where the CEO lives, and then see if there's anybody who works for the company that is not within the same state. That's another way you could figure out if they're remote. I showed my customer this, and this was fine for their use cases. I'm just sharing that if you wanted to go deeper and much more accurate, that's probably how you would do it. Then we have built with, which we're just using this to do the tech stack lookup that they were requesting. And then we get back to another Zenrose search. So they wanted data around the traffic to the website, their global rank. Do they get most of their traffic from direct traffic, organic traffic, social traffic, all these different things. So similar, we had to do the same thing when we were scraping ZoomInfo, but we have to create our URL. Now we get luckier with SimilarWeb because SimilarWeb, for all of their public pages, it's the same format every single time. SimilarWeb.com/website/clay.com. Every single time, it's going to be that. So then we could input that as a Zenrose scrape over here, and then we could pull out the data. And so now, for some reason with Zenrose, you can't use their auto parse feature for this, which is kind of annoying. So what we had to use is we had to use formulas to grab all of this data. So see how in this formula, oh no. And we're back. So all we did here is we just see the total visits, and then we just click use AI, return the data between Google Analytics total visit and bounce from body text. So we just looked in here and we were just looking for, I know we have all of this crazy text in here, but all we did was we just looked at it and we said, okay, what is the same thing every time and how can we pull out that data? And so I'm not going to find it right now, but every single time it would say go Google Analytics total visits, and then it would say the website traffic, and then right after that it would say bounce. So that's how we're able to pull out the website traffic super easy from there. And then moving on. Oh, so we just did that for everything, including organic traffic, direct traffic, all these things. Then we check, do they have a CMO? Do they have a growth marketer? Do they have all these things, right? We could do all of these different lookups. And anyway, like then we just kept doing lookups for different, like, are they hiring a growth marketer? Are they hiring a content person? Are they hiring an email person? Whatever it might be, all these different things. And yeah, now we're going to just enrich 800,000 records in their CRM. And so if you're a kind of person who's wondering, Eric, how are you doing this? This must be ridiculously expensive. I mean, they are paying, but Zenrose is super, super cheap. Serper.dev is super, super cheap. Built with is pretty expensive, and we asked them to probably reduce that. Predict Leads is great to work with because you pay a flat fee and then you get a lot of API calls. So that one is super cheap. And then 4.0 Mini just made this even cheaper. And so the biggest thing I would say is, like, if you have, so a lot of the extra stuff is all LinkedIn data. And anyway, that's super easy to be getting through Clay as well too. So this is actually, even though we're getting a lot of data, it's really not that expensive to be pulling all of this for our customer. But again, they're also paying for it, so it's not the end of the world. And we priced it all in. So anyway, if you're just learning Clay and you just want to see what's possible, this is a pretty good overview of how you can enrich companies for very specific data.